They arrested Seth Rollins. They actually put him in handcuffs, threw him in the back of a police car, and dragged him away like a criminal, and WWE just let it happen. Let that sink in. One of the most beloved superstars in this company's history, a man who has bled, sacrificed, and given everything to this business, is sitting in a police station right now because Oba Femi decided he wasn't done. And if you think this story ends there, if you think this is just another angle that fades away by next week, you are dead wrong. Because what happened after Raw went off the air will make your jaw hit the floor. Smash that like button right now and subscribe, because if you miss what comes next, you are going to regret it for a long, long time. Let's set the scene, because the build to this moment didn't start tonight, it started weeks ago when Oba Femi locked his eyes on Seth Rollins and decided that the visionary needed to be made an example of. Oba Femi isn't just a powerhouse. He isn't just a big man who throws people around for fun. He is methodical. He is calculating. He studies his prey, dismantles them piece by piece, and then finishes the job with a coldness that is genuinely unsettling to watch. And Seth Rollins, to his absolute credit, refused to back down. That's who Seth is. That's always been who Seth is. He will walk through fire, stare the devil in the eyes, and smile. But tonight, that courage cost him in the most devastating way possible. The confrontation on Raw was brutal from the moment it started. Seth came out with that fire in his eyes, that trademark intensity radiating off him, and you could feel the energy in the arena shift. The crowd was electric. People were on their feet. This was the kind of moment WWE was built for, a collision of two forces so different in style and personality that the tension was almost unbearable. Oba Femi stood in that ring like a monument, completely unbothered, completely unimpressed. And that, right there, is what makes him so dangerous. Most people flinch when Seth Rollins comes at them with everything he has. Oba Femi didn't even blink. What followed was a war. Seth threw everything at him, the stomp, the curb stomp attempts, the high-flying offense that has made him a legend in this industry. And for a moment, just a brief, breathtaking moment, it looked like Seth might actually pull it off. The crowd was losing their minds. You could feel the momentum shifting. But Oba Femi has this terrifying ability to absorb punishment and come back even more enraged than before. He caught Seth midair, slammed him into the canvas with disgusting force, and from that point on, the match turned into something darker. What was the first major title Oba Femi captured in WWE NXT, and who did he defeat to win it? Let's see how many of you real ones remember. The finish of the match is where everything spiraled completely out of control. Seth was down, the referee was counting, and Oba Femi, instead of taking the easy victory, decided he wasn't satisfied. He wanted to send a message. He pulled Seth up, drove him into the corner, and began unleashing a series of shots that went so far beyond what was necessary that the referee had no choice but to intervene. And when that referee stepped in front of Oba Femi and tried to restore order, Oba shoved him aside like he was nothing. That was the moment. That single act of defiance against an official triggered a chain of events that nobody in that building was prepared for. Security flooded the ring. Officials came pouring down the ramp. And then, in a moment that felt completely surreal, actual law enforcement entered the arena. Real police officers walked down that aisle, and the crowd went from raucous to genuinely stunned in about 2 seconds flat. Because this wasn't a storyline cop. This wasn't a planted actor. The arena went quiet in a way that arenas almost never go quiet, and the cameras caught everything. Seth Rollins, barely able to stand, watched as the situation escalated beyond anyone's control. Oba Femi stood his ground, stone-faced, arms at his sides, as the officers approached. And then they turned to Seth. There is a report, and we are going to get into this in detail, that suggests Seth was not entirely without fault in the escalating chaos. In the madness following the match, Seth allegedly made contact with one of the security personnel in a way that created a legal issue. Whether it was intentional or simply the result of adrenaline and fury is almost irrelevant at this point, because the outcome was the same. Seth Rollins was placed in handcuffs. Seth Rollins was escorted out of that arena by law enforcement. And the last image the WWE Universe saw of the visionary tonight was the back of his head as he was guided into a waiting police vehicle outside the arena. The locker room reportedly erupted. Superstars who had been watching backstage were in complete disbelief. This is not the kind of thing that happens every Monday night. This is not a planned segment or a carefully scripted piece of television. This was chaos, real, unscripted, spiraling chaos, and WWE's production team was scrambling to figure out how to handle the final segment of the show with their biggest babyface of the evening being driven away in a police car. But here is where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. And I mean nobody. Approximately 45 minutes after Raw went off the air, multiple sources began reporting that Becky Lynch had arrived at the police station where Seth was being held. Now, and this is important, Becky Lynch has been largely absent from WWE television recently. Her focus has been on family, on stepping back from the grind, on being present for the life she and Seth have built together. So when word spread that she had shown up at that station, people immediately understood the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a WWE appearance. This was a wife showing up for her husband. And she didn't come alone. Becky Lynch walked into that police station with their daughter. Their little girl, the most important person in both of their lives, was there. And the images that have been circulating online, the fan accounts outside the station capturing what they could, show something that is genuinely moving regardless of how you feel about the storyline or the business. A little girl, holding her mother's hand, walking into a building to see her father. If that doesn't hit you somewhere deep, I honestly don't know what to tell you. What is the real name of Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins' daughter, and in what year was she born? Hardcore fans only on this one prove you know your WWE family history. The reunion, by all accounts from people who were present or nearby, was emotional in a way that transcended professional wrestling entirely. Seth, who had been processed and was awaiting either release or further proceedings, reportedly broke down when he saw his daughter walk through that door. And Becky, who has built an entire career on being the man, on projecting strength and defiance and fearlessness, was seen by multiple witnesses with tears on her face. Because at the end of the day, beyond the championships and the entrance music and the pyro and the crowd, these are two human beings who love each other and have built a family together. And seeing that family tested in such a raw, public, visceral way strips everything else away. Now here is what makes this situation even more infuriating, and I need you all to really sit with this for a moment. Oba Femi caused all of this. Every single piece of what you just read traces back to one man's decision to go too far, to cross a line, to turn a professional wrestling match into something that required actual law enforcement involvement. And as of right now, Oba Femi has not been detained. Oba Femi has not faced any consequences. Oba Femi walked out of that arena under his own power, and there are reports that he was completely calm, completely composed, and completely unbothered by everything that unfolded behind him. That is the definition of a dangerous man. Not dangerous in the way that we casually throw that word around in pro wrestling. Dangerous in the sense that he operates without any apparent regard for consequences to himself, to others, or to the institution he competes within. He saw an opportunity to make an unforgettable statement, and he took it without hesitation. And the statement he made is now the only thing anyone in the wrestling world is talking about. Going forward, the questions are massive. What happens when Seth Rollins returns? Because make no mistake, Seth is coming back, and he is coming back with a fury that we have not seen from him in years. This isn't just about a loss anymore. This isn't just about a rivalry. This is personal in a way that changes everything. When a man has been publicly humiliated, arrested in front of his colleagues, and had his family dragged into the situation, that man becomes something different. Seth Rollins is going to become something terrifying when he walks back through that curtain, and Oba Femi had better be ready. And what about Becky? Does this pull her back into the WWE Universe? Does watching her husband be taken away in handcuffs reignite something in the man that the quiet life simply cannot contain? Because if Becky Lynch decides she has a score to settle, if she decides that Oba Femi's actions tonight require a response that goes beyond what Seth can deliver alone, then we are entering a chapter of WWE television that could be absolutely historic. The Rollins family has been tested tonight in front of the entire world. And if history has taught us anything about Seth and Becky, it's that when they are tested, they don't break. They come back harder, louder, and more dangerous than ever before.